starting a video business is hard because of this.
First, you gotta buy a bunch of gear. Then once you bought all the gear, well, no one's really that interested in hiring you.
Hey, you want a video?
Hey, I'm shooting videos. Do you want one? And even the people who do probably want you to work for free or give some kind of crazy first-time customer discount. And it's at this point, unfortunately, that most people give up. Maybe they go back to their job and continue shooting on the weekends, if at all. See, and we're actually at a bit of a disadvantage because we're conditioned by culture to have this sense of instant gratification. You know, we can basically find the answer to anything in like 2 seconds. We can have food show up to our doorstep just by pressing a button. And to be honest, we can get instant validation just by pressing post. And what you'll realize when you start this journey is that having a passion to shoot videos and knowing how to actually make money shooting those videos are two very different things. And you'll also realize that the vast majority of your friends and family probably don't have any business experience to give you advice. And even if they do, it's probably more like freelance side hustle. So you're kind of just starting from scratch. But the fact that it's hard is actually a really good thing for you for 3 different reasons. So the first reason is really kind of counterintuitive because it's the exact reason that most people don't get started to begin with. And it's this notion that there is way too much competition. I mean, I personally know people who were trying to get into photo and video work when I was back like 6 years ago that were honestly more talented than me. They had better storytelling skills, better cinematography, better colors, all this different stuff, but they weren't ever really able to make it into a sustainable career. And it was kind of like a flash in the pan kind of deal. You know, they were around for a few months really trying to pursue it, maybe even a few years, but they were never really able to figure out how to get that consistent income coming in. Now, that's not to say that they never got paid because, you know, maybe sometimes they would make like 10 grand in a month, they get this big brand deal or maybe a few clients, but then the next month it would be like 0, right? It would be like this roller coaster of income, roller coaster of emotions, never really knowing when the next paycheck is coming. And to be honest, it takes a lot of nerve to be able to ride that roller coaster. It doesn't have to be that way. There are ways that you can kind of build that baseline income for yourself. That's for a different video. But the main point is that most people feel that and they jump off before they can actually get started, which sucks for them, but it's actually a good thing for you. Because to be honest, you'd probably be shocked at the amount of people who actually take action. I mean, let's just say for example's sake that there's a million videographers out there, and there's probably far more than that. But I would say a fraction of them actually are trying to actively get consistent clients. So let's call it 5 to 10%, which might even be high, which by those numbers would be maybe between 50 to 100,000 videographers. Sounds like a lot, right? But at the same time, there was 4.7 million businesses started in the US alone last year, which means all those companies need to have marketing assets, sales assets, social media, ads, all this different stuff. So there's a big demand for content. So even though there's millions of videographers out there sharing their work or whatever, how many of them are actively trying to get in front of these new businesses to make sales? Probably not that many. Why? Well, because it's hard. So the fact that it's something that's hard means that there's less competition by default. I mean, to be honest, it's really not really easy, but it is easy to post on Instagram. It's a whole lot easier to do that than it is to build a business. It's a lot easier to watch YouTube gear tutorials and reviews than it is to do consistent outreach. And this one might trigger some people, so like don't shoot the messenger, but just gonna throw it out there. But it's a lot more interesting to get that instant dopamine hit, to watch your following grow, to watch the graphs and the numbers and all that stuff. It's a lot more fun than it is to learn how to sell clients that will actually pay you. And if I'm being honest, most people are way more interested in that short-term dopamine hit of growing their audience than they are in learning how to build a real business. And that's why most of them have to go back to the 9 to 5, which, speaking of competition, it brings me to the second reason that it's actually a really good thing that it's hard to get into this business. And that is when you think of competition, it has this connotation that everyone's kind of selling the same thing and everyone's got to kind of undercut each other and charge less in order to be competitive. And at a certain point, you keep undercutting until everyone's charging basically nothing or working for free. Now, obviously, this is a terrible way to run a business, a great way to run it into the ground, but unfortunately, most people think that this is the best way to do it, but there's a different way that you can actually stand out and make the competition completely irrelevant. See, because while being the cheapest definitely is a way to stand out against the competition, there's actually another way, which is having just a completely better customer experience than anyone else. So competition basically becomes irrelevant when you're incomparable. I mean, let's take Apple, for example. They're almost at a $3 trillion market cap at the moment, and they literally have like zero competition. HP, Dell, Samsung, all these are not competition for Apple, even though they sell the same thing. They both sell laptops, phones, you know, electronic type stuff. But Apple stands far and above the rest because they just have a much better ecosystem, much better customer experience, and just overall a better product, in my opinion. So guess what? Because of that, they're not competing on price. People who buy an iPhone literally could care less how much a Samsung is or any of these other products. People who buy a MacBook Pro Pro literally do not care about what an HP costs because they're going to go buy the MacBook. They basically made the competition irrelevant. Now, if we bring this back to your business, the fact that there's a lot of competition, a lot of people in the market kind of selling the same thing is actually good because it encourages you to experiment with making different things, different experiences, and just making a better overall product for the client. So that could be switching up content styles, editing styles, shooting styles, or it could be more on the business side in terms of what are you actually offering the client? Like instead of just giving them a video, what else can you add on to this that would make it more valuable, that would allow you to stand out from everyone else? If you're interested, I actually have a video about how to make an offer here. You can check it out after this video. Or you could take it to the client experience. Like most people are never going to have conversations with their clients. They're just going to send them an email and be done with it. So how can you make your client experience far better than anyone else out there in the market? And when you do, guess what? You become incomparable. Because like I said before, when something's hard, that means less people are going to actually want to do it, which means that you have a much better chance of actually being successful at it just by doing some little stuff. Like if you send a client a gift, right? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just something small to say thank you. Or if you jump on monthly strategy calls with them just to kind of check in, see how they're doing. This kind of stuff is small, might take you an hour a month, but it gives you consistent contact with that client so they remember who you are, remember why they're paying you more importantly, and then keeps you on retainer so you reduce the churn. And that brings me to the third reason that it's a good thing that it's hard to get into this industry, which is the whole concept of a starting artist. Like, why are there so many talented artists that are not able to figure out how to make money doing their passion? And at the same time, there's a lot of people who maybe aren't even nearly as good or nearly as talented that are able to make, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, sometimes even more than that, creating for companies, right? And the question is why? Because it's obviously not about the creative skills, it's about something else. So what I found is the people that are unable to make a sustainable living are just unable to connect the dots between what they create and the value that it brings to the marketplace. Because when you know how to make something that the market actually needs, then they're going to be more than willing to pay you the value that it's worth. Now, that being said, obviously there's skills that are necessary beyond just creative skills in order to make that transaction happen. Things like marketing, which is how do I even get a conversation with somebody? Sales, which is how do I turn that conversation into a transaction? And then, client experience, which is how do I make sure that this person wants to continue working with me over the long-term period. So you got to understand all these different things in order to make that transaction actually happen. Now, the problem that most videographers face is they would much rather focus on the creative stuff, editing, shooting, everything on that side, and they don't really want to learn the skill sets required to be able to actually sell those videos. So most of the time what ends up happening is they're like, well, I'll just hire an agent and they can take care of the whole business side. Now, what the agents don't tell you is that they are not going to do any outbound marketing for you, because unless you're a high tier client that's already in demand, they're not going to be pitching you, because they only make money when you make money because they work off of commission. So they're going to pitch their higher tier clients. So for you, they're just not going to do anything. And I know this because I was signed on to an agency for 2 years, and over the course of that 2 years, they didn't send one outbound message for me. So all the work that I got over the course of those 2 years had to come through the agency because they were my representation, but it was all inbound. It was all stuff I would have gotten anyways from brands reaching out on email or DMs. And they negotiated on my behalf, but I probably could have gotten similar rates anyways if I just would have done it myself. Now, the other thing is that they're going to take 20% off the top, no matter where the job comes from. So just as an example, if I got a $5,000 project, immediately I'm paying out $1,000 to the agent. Then I have my creative assistant, maybe I have another shooter, maybe I hire an editor, got to pay taxes. At the end of the day, I end up making $2,000 off of that $5,000 project, which if you're doing the math is like 40% margins, which, is not great. Now, all that to say, the fact that sales is hard means that most people aren't going to do it. Most people are going to hide behind emails, kind of send those out, and then they wonder why they can't close high ticket clients. But at the same time, they're too nervous to jump on a phone. And I totally get it. Like, I was nervous too, especially if you've never done it before. It is kind of nerve wracking to talk to strangers and try to sell them. But I'll be honest with you, when I first decided to just burn the boats, go all the way in on the video thing and just say, hey, I'm going, all bets are off, I'm going all in. The first 2 months of that, I went 0 for 27 on sales calls. Like literally closed 0, got 27 no's. But on the 28th call, I finally closed my first deal over the phone for $5,000, which was significantly more than I had ever closed before and haven't looked back since. But the reason I say that is because most people don't have the stamina to withstand 27 no's to get to the 28th yes. First of all, won't even get on a call to begin with, they'll just send emails. But if they do jump on calls, maybe they take 2, 5, maybe 10, and then they give up and they say it's a scam, it doesn't work, no one wants to hire me, I'm not good enough. All these different things that go through your mind, and it went through my mind as well. But the fact of the matter is, because it's hard, most people are just not going to do it. And the fact that the barrier of entry is so high means that you just have a much better chance of standing out against the competition that's not willing to do that. So therefore, you get the cream of the crop in terms of rates and in terms of the jobs that you get hired for. So all this to say, if you've already started your video business, or maybe you're kind of on the fence, starting to think about doing it, but you're feeling discouraged. Maybe you're feeling lonely. Maybe you're feeling like, you know, this is a lot more difficult than Instagram makes it out to be. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, it is. It's not easy to make a full-time living in this business, but trust me, if you stick through, if you are consistent, if you actually put yourself out there, it is so worth it. I would not rather do anything else with my life. Like, it is so worth it to be able to shoot for these brands, to be able to travel, to be able to be creative every single day and just kind of work for yourself is just amazing. But it takes effort and it takes work. If you're one of those people who just decided, I'm going to burn the boats, I'm going all the way in on videography, I'm going to make it happen no matter what, but maybe you're getting some of these outside sources questioning whether that's the right decision. Maybe you're feeling lonely, maybe you're feeling discouraged, maybe you're just feeling like it's hard and you don't really know what the next step is. I just want to encourage you, give me a subscribe on here because I got a bunch of videos that'll hopefully help you out. Everything from prospecting, sales, frameworks, basically anything that you need. Actually, this video here that I'm linking is a exact blueprint from how to go from 0 to 10,000 a month. So go ahead and watch that video and I think it'll be really helpful for you. I just wanted to encourage you, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram at Nash Hagen. Love to help you out on your journey and see you in the next video.